Welcome to the Fresh Moni podcast.
Thanks for having me, brother.
You meet a lot of people that are in that dark time, super low. What would you say to someone in that moment to help them turn things around?
Firstly, I'd say that you're worth it. Don't give up. Ask for help. When I, put that knife in my chest, I wish I'd asked for help. I wish I had help available to me, or I knew where to get it. And that's what I'd say to people. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Especially with our Pacifica people, we always think it's a sign of weakness, and we always brush things under the carpet.
Yeah, hard.
It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's a sign of strength. So, ask for help. And that, we are meant for greatness. So many times, I meet people down at the bottom. One lady said to me, I'll never forget it. She said to me, Dave, I come from a long line of nothing. And I said, no, that's not true. You come from a line of chiefs and navigators. You come from greatness.
Yeah.
And that's what you're destined for. You have to understand that and realize it. My first thing I'd say to people is,
This podcast is brought to you by Ethos Mortgages. If you're looking to buy your first home, next home, or even an investment property, make sure you reach out to Ethos Mortgages at ethosmortgages.co.nz. We'll have a link below as well. Just a quick note, this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. If you need financial advice, please make sure you contact a financial advisor to get professional advice. Talofa lava, and welcome to the Fresh Moni podcast. I'm your host, Willie Liotta, and in this podcast, we talk about all things money. So it can be personal finance, business, or investment. If it involves money, we'll be talking about it. And the goal of this podcast is to empower Pacifica and Māori to firstly talk about money so we can get better at it. And today I have the privilege of welcoming a man of many talents, known for transforming lives, empowering people to take control of their health and mindset. A former professional boxer, author, advocate for healthy living, passionate community leader, and importantly, a loving husband and father, the one and only Dave Letele. Dave, welcome to the Fresh Moni podcast.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Awesome to have you here. Super excited to hear about your journey and the lessons you've learned along the way. Sweet. I have so many questions for you. I know there's a lot going on at the moment.
I actually didn't know this podcast is about money. I should read the brief.
There was a brief.
Yeah,
no, but now you know.
I just don't read these things, but that's cool.
Yeah, well, that's why we do intros.
Yeah, awesome.
So perfect. So tell me a bit about yourself. Whereabouts did you grow up?
So I grew up firstly in Mangere, born in Hamilton, Waikato Hospital. Raised up in Mangere for the first 5 years of my life, then shipped off over to Australia. And my father got sentenced to a 10-year prison term for, I guess it's a job. It was a money job, just robbing banks. So it was, so I got shipped off to Australia, lived in Mount Druitt for a while with my grandparents. So that's where I grew up.
Far out. What was life like that for you? Growing up, moving around.
Yeah, we just thought it was just normal, bro. That's the issues. I mean, even now with kids that are sort of born into that way of life and that struggle, you just think it's normal.
Yeah.
So with everything that we try and do, even what you're trying to do with this podcast is about giving people an insight and a glimpse into what life can be like. So, that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. In your show, Heavyweights, there is a part where you've hit your low, like a really low part in your life, and you're walking along the street and you're just hoping for cars to hit you and to end it all. And there's a line in there that says, you're sitting on your front porch and you look up the sky and say, God, surely I was meant for more. Surely I'm meant for more. Was that a turning point in your life? And did you hear anything back when you stared up into that light?
Yeah, man, I remember it was a very tough time back then, and every time I drive down Massey Road, I think of that moment walking down the street. And then sitting here on it was actually the back doorstep of that house. It was a tinny house that I was living at. And I just got out of hospital for stabbing myself. And I was just thinking, man, I don't go to church. I'm not religious, but I have a very strong faith in God. And I just stared at the sky and went, surely God, I'm meant for more. And I didn't hear back, but you know, once I started to get to work, you know, it sort of, you know, the plan was there. You know, there's always a plan, I believe, you know, God's plan, even if you don't know it, and you can't see it. But, you know, you first got to take action. You know, you've got to start, because, you know, faith without work is dead. You know, so you just got to. It showed itself once I started getting up and started to work. But it was a tough time, bro. It was a tough time.
Yeah. And what would you say to people? Because you meet a lot of people that are in that dark time, super low, just want it to end. What would you say to someone in that moment to help them turn things around?
You know, firstly, I'd say that you're worth it. You know, don't give up. You know, ask for help. You know, when I you know, put that knife in my chest, I wish I'd asked for help. I wish I had help available to me, or I knew where to get it. And that's what I'd say to people. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help, especially with our Pacifica people. We always think it's a sign of weakness, and we always brush things under the carpet.
Yeah, hard.
You know, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help, it's a sign of strength. So, you know, ask for help. And that, you know, we are meant for greatness, you know, and you just have to understand that. So many times, you know, I meet people down at the bottom. And, you know, one lady said to me, I'll never forget it. She said to me, you know, Dave, I come from a long line of nothing. And I said, no, that's not true. You come from a line of chiefs and navigators. You know, you come from greatness, you know, and that's what you're destined for. You have to understand that and realize it, that your potential, you know, and just, you know, my first thing I'd say to people is get up and start.
Wicked.
You just got to get up, and, you know, we're meant for greatness.
Mean. And you're flipping a massive, an awesome example of greatness. You've done so many things, and people look up to you. At that time, did you have anyone to look up to? Did you have any role models or that were giving you advice or picking you up?
And I mean, I was very lucky, bro. Like, you know, I talk about this a lot. I was lucky. You know, my father and my uncle, one of my uncles who I'm closest to, Uncle Lay, yeah, they went off track. But the rest of my family were okay. So very good grandparents, really good aunties and uncles. My family was good. That, you know, like they were there. And I was surrounded, you know, I still had that love, you know.
Yeah, awesome.
So I was lucky that, you know, I had another uncle that was doing very well in business, Uncle Ula. So I used him as my motivation. He was the boss of duty-free shoppers when that was big and over in Asia. So I sort of used him as that that role model for business, you know. Then I had role models on the other side with my uncle and father as well. But yeah, so, you know, I was still lucky that I had when my old man went away that time at 21, went away again. I was lucky I had a family that could pluck me out, right? You know, take me out of that environment and put me somewhere else. Yeah, and what we have to understand is not everyone has that opportunity. Yeah, you know, so many of our youth they're surrounded by it. As far as they can see back, it's been crime, gangs, abuse, addictions. You know, there's nothing else around them. You know, they don't have the luxury of a family member that can pull them out and put them into a better environment.
Man. In terms of BBM, where did that all start? When did it start?
Man, it was there was no plan into starting BBM.
Yeah,
it happened really organically.
Yeah,
and I guess it started out of my boxing career. So I was a boxer called the mighty Brown Butterbean.
Yes.
And everyone hated my guts because you know, I play this character of a bad guy.
Yeah. And was that a character?
Of course it was a character.
It's not who you are.
You know, but you know, obviously there was a little bit of me in there, but it was, you know, I understood that Joseph Parker is the main event. He's what everyone's there to see. He's why all the news media are there. So I have to do something out there to get any kind of attention. And that's what it was. The whole focus, my whole reason for being there from Duco was to cause trouble and you know, be the circus act before Joe came on. But each fight I was losing weight. And so that's when I started, amongst all the hate mail, I'd be getting messages like, man, how are you doing this? What are you what training are you doing? What's your eating? All this sort of stuff. So we started a group called BBM. So Butterbean Motivation started as a Facebook group with just one person, me. You know, people always think, man, like they see what we're doing now, but it started from one person helping myself. Our boot camp started by one person, like me helping my father-in-law's mate. You know, and then out south helping one lady in the driveway. And then I thought, I wonder who else wants to come, you know, and that's how it all started. You know, people out there watching, you know, because
they must ask you all the time, how do I get to be like what you're doing?
Yeah, never underestimate the power of helping one person, the impact of just helping one person. You don't have to go and say, oh, look, I want to go straight from here to what BBM's doing. Just help one person. That's heaps. Yeah. You know, that's how we started. And it just grew from there, but it all came from a Facebook group, and we started, you know, growing. And it was just, I wanted to give our people, I understood that not everyone had positive influences around them. You know, not everyone was educated around what to eat. So that's why we started it.
Yeah. Did you ever think it was going to be this big?
Not as big as what it is now. Yeah, I didn't think, but it was just, we just kept rolling with it. And if an issue came up that we could help, then we'd jump in and, you know, then we'd start another, you know, part of what we're up to. Yeah,
okay. And what are some of the challenges that you've faced along the way?
It's always around money, bro. You know, it's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I guess from the start, getting the bureaucrats and the government to believe what we were doing was working.
Yeah.
You know, at the start, people would think, oh, you know, he's just a brown guy training fat brown people in a field somewhere. And we just never got the support or the respect. But we just persevered, you know, and the funding for it, like every community group, it's always the funding that's the hard thing. And for us, you know, we're a big group with a high profile. It's hard for us to imagine how it is for the smaller groups doing just as much work though.
Yeah. Yeah, hard. And I've seen a post that you put up, I think it was this week or last week, around being called radioactive. and that is the reason why you are not getting funding.
Yeah, so that came from within Wayne Brown's office, from someone there. I won't name the guy, but he sent that to Rob Campbell. So Rob Campbell, a very respected guy, he posted on LinkedIn talking about this new research that was out around diabetes, especially Māori Pacifica. And we're on a trajectory that they predicted, and this is happening unless we do something, that by 2044, there'll be 500,000 people with diabetes. Now, our health system can't cope with what's going on now. What's going to happen then, you know? Right. So what he questioned was, why can't grassroots groups, and this is what it said in the research, that has to be, you know, community-based groups and programs need to be implemented and funded. Why is BBM not being resourced properly? So that's what prompted this guy to message Rob and said, this is why. Yeah, this is why he's viewed as radioactive, and his character and political associations make him unpredictable.
That's crazy.
What a disgrace. Yeah. The thing is, I've like, you know, you can never win. So I'll talk bad about one government, and like I remember last election, I got a photo with Chris Luxon, and I was at an event with him, and then all my Labour mates were spewing. I went to a boot camp, and he goes, "You've changed, Dave." So you just can't win. So the main thing for me is I just keep it about the people. That's it.
Yeah.
And they just don't like an outspoken, person that's holding them to account, especially an outspoken brown guy.
That's crazy. How disappointing is it, as someone who's been building something, helping so many people, to get hit like that? And how do you deal with disappointment?
Well, I always knew it was there, bro. I always knew that this was the thought. And it came from years ago when I met someone from the Ministry of Health. And she said to me, you know what, I told them I was coming here, and so many people within the ministry told me to be careful. What Dave's teaching doesn't align with us. And I said, what? Don't drink fucking fizzy drinks. Does that not align with the Ministry of Health? But this is the thinking. So there's bureaucrats within the system that just don't like me. And that's the way it is. But to see it written down, by someone that's mixing in those political circles, yeah, that's what pissed me off. So, but they won't say it publicly because we're so popular. So that's why I posted this. I wanted the person to see the level of support we have. I posted it on LinkedIn first, and you can see all the vast range of people, that are messaging their support. That's the thing with us, with BBM, we're mainstream, and we have support from gang members to chairmans.
Wow.
So it goes right through the spectrum. We have the support of the people.
Yeah, crazy. And I know like funding is tough, but like I can see how, or over the years or recent times, how you've kind of pivoted or transitioned into businesses. What was is that one of the key, I suppose, pulls or pushes for that? Like the lack of funding to move into businesses? What's the strategy around that?
It's funny. I met with one of my sponsors, Annette Presley, with her PA, and she said to me, we want to catch up with you and talk about your plan, and you have like a strategy plan and document written down somewhere. So I don't work
like
that
a business
way.
Plan.
Yeah, I don't work that way. I just fucking do things. But the reason why, the model that we use is business, community, and government working together for the common good. Yep. You have to have it. All three of those, we all need to work together. The problem is it's the government, whatever government, this or the last or the next, they're all the same. Doesn't matter which one, they're all the same. So we have good business support, like, from Z Energy, Foodstuffs, all these people, grant funders like Foundation North, J.R. McKenzie, Tyndall Foundation, all these people. So but they've seen the work, they believe it. And the reason why I've set businesses up is because I say the first one we set up was the recruitment. Because I meet so many recruitment owners, company owners, that they're all driving Ferraris. They're very wealthy people. So I thought, and we were doing all these employment programs at BBM, trying to get people into work, true hand-up stuff. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And we had different recruitment companies coming into us and working with us, but they didn't look after the people properly. And then they never came back to me and said, here's a core hard day for all the work you do for free. So I thought to myself, okay, well, let's just do it ourselves. And probably chose the hardest time ever to start a recruitment company. But
when did you start that?
So we started that last year.
Oh, yeah.
And employment's sky high at the unemployment's sky high at the moment. So it's a tough time, but we're doing well.
Awesome.
So we're getting people into work. We're supporting them while they get on their feet, and we're there for them if they fall down. So that's the whole thing, support thing, right? We're there. Not everyone has good support. Not everyone has good friends and family that can help. So that's what we're offering is a good friend with family to support you if you get knocked down. But it's a setup as a business to make money.
Yes.
The money we make goes back into the social stuff. So that's the whole idea of it. Then we set up a cafe, Rena Bean Coffee and Sups. That's out west, opposite our gym. Again, to offer them, I was sitting out there yesterday with guys from New Zealand Sport, and they go, man, Sports New Zealand, they go, man, this is amazing. So it's all about, giving our people a chance to, get their kids in here, to get some work experience, to keep our people employed, while offering healthier options. There's not much healthy in the areas that we're working in. And then we're about to start one in next door to our Monaco gym.
Nice.
A bigger place. So, trying to set up these different businesses. Like we have the app business as well.
I've seen that.
Which does really well. So that all pours in to go back to the social side.
Wow.
So that's why we're doing it.
They're kind of social enterprises.
Yeah. So that's all I'm trying to do, and then I live off my speeches. So I do speeches with celebrity speakers, essential talent. That's how I get my money.
I see. I see. What's been the biggest or the hardest parts of starting businesses? If you're serious about buying your first home, make sure you check out the First Home Buyers Masterclass. In this masterclass, we take you through the whole home buying journey, from getting pre-approved, finding your property, to settling. This will take out a lot of the confusion and make your home buying journey a lot easier. Make sure you check out the link below for our masterclass.
I think the hardest part that people have is when they have an idea. The hardest part for them is starting. You just got to start. Just do it.
Yeah.
You
figure it out as you go.
I mean, obviously it's resourcing to get it all set up and stuff. It's expensive to set these things up, but don't overthink things. I actually don't think it's hard. Yeah.
As Pasifika, Māori. What do you think are your values that come through to make your businesses and BBM successful?
Well, it's one thing I've said to our team. So, we've grown. We've got, like 25 full-time staff now working with us.
Wow.
But I said years ago when there was only like 2 of us, as a team kept growing, I'd always say, never forget our why. Our why is our people, to help our people. And when I say our people, I don't just mean Māori Pacifica. I mean anyone going through the struggle. Yeah. Anyone stuck at the bottom, stuck in a rut, it's fallen down, that's my people. So as long as we keep our people at the center of our hearts, we'll never go wrong. We're serving our people. We're serving our community. So any decision that I make around things, I always think, how will it affect my people? If it will affect them in a bad way, I won't do it.
Hey. And if you were to start BBM all over again, what advice would you go and give your younger self?
I'd give myself no advice.
Yeah.
I'm happy. You know what? I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, mate.
It's yeah. I mean, when I look back at what we've done and the people we've helped, and understanding that there's, even we're at Fun Fest. We do with the Fun Fest crew there, Trillion Trust.
Yeah, I saw your
it.
post on that.
And a lady came up to one of my team. She brought all her kids up. She said, "The beds we sleep on, the blankets you have, the washing machine, the fridge, everything we have in our house is because of these guys."
Wow.
How special is that? And it's just really proud.
Amazing.
One advice my sister gave me, which I guess was the advice I'd give to me, my younger self, and to anyone, is to my sister Vicky, who passed away of cancer, rest in peace. Early days, I hadn't even had a boxing match yet, and I was like, I was living in a sleep out in a community home, broken-hearted, massively overweight, and I just said to my sister one day, "Oh man, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of having no money. I'm just going to go out and do, get up to my old tricks again and make some money." She said to me, "Dave, don't just stick to this fitness thing you're on. I can see something coming." I don't know what she saw.
Wow.
Her faith was very strong, and she could see something.
Yeah.
She could just stay on the path. So I guess that's the advice I'd give to my younger self, and to anyone out there that's just beginning, that's found, a founder or an entrepreneur. Just stay on the path. You're going to get knocked down. You just got to keep getting up.
Wicked. You talked about that success story of that family before. Are there any other? I'm guessing there's many stories, but are there any others that just stand out and they're imprinted on your mind and your heart?
Oh, it's so many, bro. Like what that story, and I talked about it to the team after, because when you're in the community, your head's down, you're just working, grinding away. You sort of don't understand. So we help that family, we move on. We go and help the next family, we go and go. But to that family, they'll remember that for the rest of their lives. Yep. That's huge. That the ripple effects of that will be felt for their next generation. So
yes.
It's just amazing when we look at we look at people that, and within our group that, weren't able to walk. Now they're walking. They had type 2 diabetes. Now they no longer have type 2 diabetes. So people's lives are better, they're healthier, they're happier because we exist.
That's insane.
Can't beat it, man.
That's awesome.
That's why we do it. That's why I go through the stress of trying to keep it all going, is for that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. In terms of, to be a lot of people starting businesses out there and they have to grow and change and adapt. In terms of, you starting out on your own and now you've got all these people who are helping you in BBM, how has your leadership grown over time?
I think the main thing is learning to delegate more and being better at delegating, trying to do everything. One of the things when we started was, how can we, the Ministry of Health say, or the people would say, we can't scale this because there's only one Dave. So say, as an example, our From the Couch program, which is our funded health program with Total Healthcare, right? We can't scale it. There's only one Dave. That's going to be limited to wherever he is. And I said, what? So I purposely stopped doing all boot camps, and let my team do it, and then I would come in for the talks and all this type of stuff. But my team run it so that we could prove that, hey, this is scalable because it's the principles we teach that can be taught to other trainers. So that's for me the main thing, just learning how to delegate. That's been the big one. Yeah, and building the infrastructure around me. Because I think when you're a founder and you start something, you're doing everything. So as you grow, you've got to get in people who are better at certain things. So that, and all you're doing is sitting over the top, just making sure they're doing it.
Yeah, awesome. And in terms of going back to the kind of funding and it's difficult. What do you think people misunderstand about you the most?
Oh, I think, like that comment, that I'm radioactive and, that I'm this activist. And I don't actively try and go and be this activist or, all I'm doing is advocating for anyone. So I think maybe that's what people have that perception of me, that I'm just, out there.
I feel like I feel like they get it confused with passion.
Yeah.
Because I've been around passionate people. And what I see in meeting you and seeing what you do online, I think people can get passion for what they're doing confused.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when you're seeing what we're seeing, and you're seeing the need, and you're seeing the inequities of our community and our society, it's a disgrace. Yeah. So, I have this profile, I have to use it. Otherwise, what a waste. So I always get upset with other people who have a profile, and every now and then you have to stand up for something, and you have to stand up and speak on it.
That's right.
And without fear, that's the thing with me. I mean, I don't care if it's going to cost me government support, because the people need to know. People up here need to know what's going on down here. Yeah. The bubbles existed before COVID. People don't know what's going on down here at the grassroots. So it's important that I use this profile to show them.
Sheesh. Let's talk about money. You touched early on about struggles in life. What role did money or lack of money play in those struggles, and how did those early years shape your relationship with money and finance?
Oh man, we just hated being poor. I think anyone who's going through it, I have never met anyone who likes it. So it was a big driver. At first it was sport. That was, think, okay, we can get out, get out of this, I've played rugby league and train really hard and, go to university, all these things. So it was a huge motivation. So I try to use all the struggle we're going through, I used it as my fuel to train hard, as my fuel to study hard and all those types of things, so I can get a good job and, make good money.
Yeah, man. Are you better with money now than those early days?
I don't think it's a problem, but I'm very generous.
Yeah, nice.
I always think if you can help, you should. Yeah, you should help.
100%.
And if then I think you'll always be blessed in return. A story, about a month ago, a lady reached out, and she owed like $7,000 in back rent to Kāinga Ora.
Sheesh.
And asked for help. And now, that's a lot of money, even, so.
There's a lot of money.
I had to remind myself, I say, hey, Dave, you can help. You should, but it was, and I did, but it's just that's the thing people say is that, I am very generous, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Back when I first came into money through business, and I was not, I had no idea. The thing is, like, they're not teaching budgeting in school still now. I remember helping a lady who asked me, in school holidays, their TV got repossessed. I said, well, how big's your TV? Oh, 7 inches. I said, what the fuck do you need a 7-inch TV for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so, but we don't get it, you know, and we have no idea, no concept of it. And that was me too, you know, so, I had no idea how to handle it, no idea what taxes were, no idea the difference between turnover and profit. And I just, and, you know, when I've stuffed things up many a time, but it's all lessons, you know. The main thing is you got to learn from it.
You do.
You know, like, hey, we're all going to go through these tough times, and I hope and pray no one has to ever walk into the accountants and go bankrupt and all these things. But if you do go through these tough times like that, you know, just understand that it'll be okay.
Yes.
You know, it'll be okay.
Yeah, true,
don't be tempted to take a shortcut.
You'll get through it.
You'll get through it. Just go back, you know, just don't be afraid to go back to the grind and the hustle again. If you've done it before, you can do it again. You know, many of the most successful people in the world have gone bankrupt many times.
Yeah, true.
So you've just got to, you know, as tough as it is, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Don't take a shortcut. You know, that's what I did. I tried to take shortcuts and, you know, ended up with a gun at my head. Shortcuts are always a long way around.
I was going to say, what are some of the money mistakes that you've made?
Oh, just fucking blowing it. Like,
just spending it.
Well, like, you know, when you see it now with a lot of, you know, even with celebrities that come from nothing, with sports stars, you know, with young kids that grow up in these areas with nothing, and they see, you know, they're surrounded by, you know, with the gangsters and the drug dealers with all the nice gold,
shiny,
all the bikes, and that's what they aspire. So I was that when I got some money. I got all those, you know, the material things that I thought would make me happy. You know, they don't make you happy. You know, so I learned that the hard way. I had no idea how to save, and so again, learned the hard way.
And do you guys teach financial kind of literary stuff at BBM?
So we run with our youth rangatahi programs, with our employment programs, financial literacy with Westpac actually come and teach it. So
awesome.
The bank manager for Mangere come and does it actually.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a big part of what we do. Just real basic stuff. And I talked to a debt collection guy who actually came to BBM yesterday looking for someone. And I said,
oh really?
I said, we'll take care of it. We'll help this person.
Oh, wow.
But it'd be cool if you guys come in and held like a seminar here, because we're so scared. Yes. You know, like, you know what it's like. You get a fine or you get some, you know, you just forget it. Don't pay it.
The fear kind of causes you to push it away.
Yeah. And then it keeps going, keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Next minute, you're going to go to fucking court.
Yes.
You know, over something that if you just faced it, straight away.
When it was small.
Yeah, and just, okay, I can afford to pay this much a week.
Yeah.
You know, but we just don't have that education around it, and we just try and run from it. Yeah. And the worst thing is that then what I fear is that we'll go and do crime to pay it. So we'll go do crime, then we don't end up paying it anyway. You know, so things are just spiraling out of control.
Yeah, wow. Cool. That's great that you're doing some of that financial literacy or getting people in anyways. Looking back, what's the one piece of financial advice you'd give yourself, or that you wish you'd known earlier?
Pay your taxes.
Because the tax man always wins.
Man, it's the only people who can reach into your account and just take it. So pay your taxes, man. Like I do mine every month.
Oh, yeah. Do you have an accountant, or do you have someone?
Get a good accountant.
Yes.
Make sure that you make sure you have a good accountant, and make sure you. Even with GST, I would never even do it at 3 months. Sometimes you say, you pay it 3 months, 6 months. I said, no. I want to pay this monthly. Like, don't let it build up, because it's hard. Like, even if you see the money in your account, that money is not all yours. You know, there's a big portion of that that's got to go to the government. So big thing. Like, I prepay weekly.
Oh, nice.
For and then monthly is my GST. I just don't want to get in any trouble. That's the biggest thing.
That's great advice. That's awesome.
Yeah. If you can prepay a bit every week, and it just goes in so that it's less, you know, in terms of your
you're not getting that big
tax,
lump.
Yeah. Provisional tax, do it every week. GST, do it every month.
Sweet. For someone who's starting from zero, either financially or physically, what's the first step they should take to restart or rebuild their life?
I always just don't overthink it and start. So if it's with your health, get out and go for a walk. cut back on eating crap food, stop drinking fizzy drinks. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, and don't have to do all these things at once. You know, get one thing, you know, build the solid foundation.
Because you see online, like, you know, there's these people who are ripped and they got like six pack and
like, you know,
and they're eating, you know, carrots and celery.
It's not, you know, you can't make, so I always say to people, you know, build a solid foundation. You can't eat chicken and broccoli every day, eat like you got to live in chef, and train like a professional athlete. You know, it's about being healthy and happy and being able to maintain it. That's what it's about.
Yeah, man. Going forward, what's the dream? What's the big vision for BBM?
BBM, especially our BBM from the Couch program, should be nationwide. That's the goal. We're trying to scale it. Well, hopefully this year be in Porirua, Whangarei and Kaitaia. So we got our own general manager for From the Couch now. We're teaming up with Total Healthcare on that, Tamaki Health. So that's the big push. And then the ultimate dream is for to me to fully be able to take a step back and just have it run itself and not be so heavily reliant on me for funding.
Gotcha.
And the connections with the corporates and all this type of stuff. That's the ultimate goal for me. So I want to enjoy life, you know, and spend, you know, as much time with my family as possible. Man,
I was going to say, like, you know, with you being so busy, like currently, how does that work with work-life, family balance? Do you have a balance? Is there even such a thing as
I'm better at it now, but it is a myth. And anyone that's starting something, that's the sacrifice. That's what I believe.
Yep.
You know, if you're starting something, if you're a founder, entrepreneur, and you're starting something, the sacrifice is you're going to have less time with your family. But you know, doesn't have to always be that way.
True.
You know, so I'm now pretty good. Like I just make sure that. You know, we're going pretty hard in the community work. You know, we're going hard for years, you know, through COVID, through the floods. And my whole thing was, I said, I don't care. We're working every day. Like all my team, we're on it. If something happens, if I get a message at 2 a.m, I don't care. If I see it and we can help, we're doing it. But then I started noticing, you know, it was taking a toll on all of our team's families and my family. And then I thought, man, this is, you know, unless it's an emergency, we don't have to work the weekends. You know, that's, you know, unless it's an emergency, you know, if we've done all the work and it's 2 o'clock, we go home. You know, so we're pretty relaxed now. But when we have to press go, we're on.
Yeah, wicked. And finally, this is a question I ask all my guests that come on. What does wealth mean to you?
Wealth to me means the ability to spend time with your family and, you know, quality time, have experiences with them and not have to worry about, you know, the bills. That's, you know, so, I mean, that's it. You don't have to be a billionaire. It's that, you know, just wealth, being able to not stress about bills and be able to spend time with your family.
Yeah, man. Well, Dave, thank you so much for your time. You're an absolute legend. I appreciate your generosity. I know you're a busy man, so thank you so much. I wish you, your ainga, BBM, all the best, and I really do hope you achieve all that you hope to and dream to achieve.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. God bless my brother.
Thank you.